Hello, everyone. You're watching End Time Counterpoint. My name is Dan. Thanks for tuning in today. I want to discuss the idea of social engineering and break it down into a definition and then show you who are the social engineers in the Christian world today who are using this to their advantage as any hacker would. Now, first of all, let me tell you a little story. First of all, I'm 63 years old and I'm still working full time. I don't have the luxury of sitting around collecting all the tithes and donations that the big guys do. So I make money the old-fashioned way. I earn it. But recently at work, we had training in cybersecurity, as we often do. And the idea of social engineering was presented during the training. Now, I want to kind of expand on that idea and show you how that there are people in the Christian world who are social engineers, and they use the same tactics as other hackers and manipulators do. But first of all, let me define who or what is a social engineer. And this definition is found in the built-in dictionary of my computer operating system. So this is a valid idea, and social engineers really do exist. So let me give you the definition of a social engineer. A social engineer can be defined as a person who attempts to manage social change and regulate the development of a society, or it can be a person who uses deception to manipulate individuals into divulging confidential or personal information that may be used for fraudulent purposes. All right, so that should get your attention, right? Someone who manipulates a targeted group or individual and manipulates them into a desired course of action, usually into giving up some kind of personal or sensitive information. And you might ask, well, how in the world do Christian leaders, the prophecy experts, do that? Well, if you think about it, they really are quite manipulative. And even though social engineering does involve technology, the technology is only a gateway. It's only a conduit for the information. The social engineers actually prey on basic human emotion. Now, I'll tell you what the Christian social engineers are after here in just a few minutes. But let me give you some of the emotions that social engineers prey on, all right? And the Christian leaders are no different. Here are just some of the emotions involved in this manipulation by the social engineers. Emotional manipulation gives attackers the upper hand in any interaction, and you are far more likely to take irrational or risky actions when in an enhanced emotional state. And the following emotions are all used in equal measure to convince you. They are fear, excitement, curiosity, anger, guilt, and sadness, and I might add, greed. Yeah, I think the top three emotions are probably fear, excitement, and greed. That's what the Christian social engineers use to manipulate Christians into a desired course of action. And what do these guys prey on? Well, the prophecy experts prey on fear, for one thing, fear of the next world event, fear of the next person that comes on the world stage, fear of a disaster, fear that the next event is going to trigger the rapture maybe, or all these other things that are going to happen, sure to set the dominoes falling. So they want you to be in fear of all that and then trust them for the answer. You see, that's the way social engineers work. They get the emotions working, then they give a reassurance, and then they get the emotion working again. And a lot of times what these experts will do is cause you to fear or be anxious over something. They will try to reassure you that, hey, this is just Bible prophecy, and then they'll come back in with another emotional hook. That's the way they do it. That's the way hackers work. Right? They'll send you a phony email or a text or a combination of the two, and they will cause you to fear something. Then they reassure you by saying, well, you're not going to lose your job, but you do need to take this action, and cause you to be anxious over that. And then they'll say, just click on this link for more information. And when you click on the link, they've got you. And that's the way that the prophecy experts work. They are really social engineers. They want you to fear something. Then they reassure you that, oh, it's just Bible prophecy at work. There's nothing to fear. And then they hit you with some more fear and anxiety. And so what they want you to do is to confide in them, trust in them, follow them. They will guide you through all of these things that are coming upon the world. And they can also prey on your excitement, get you excited about these being the end times. And like I've said before, maybe they are, but they don't have to be. But they want you to get excited that you're living in this unique time in human history. And then when they build up the excitement, they'll tell you that, this is Bible prophecy being fulfilled every day. And then you have to follow them for more proof that these are the end times. See, they hook you with that excitement. And then, of course, the prosperity preachers, they get you with greed. They want to tell you that God just wants you to be rich. And so the people who prosper in tithing are the ones who collect the tithe. But you see, they appeal to that greed that if you tithe, blessings will follow. And then the people who collect the tithes get richer and richer. And then other people, they get poorer and poorer. So it happens in the Christian world too. Right? So there's this fear, this anxiety, this excitement, this greed. That's what they all appeal to. Now, what is the ultimate goal? I touched on this in a previous video, but I want to expand on it here in this episode today. What is it they want? Well, the first phase is to get the following. The first phase is to get as many followers as you can, grow your organization or your church as big and as large as possible to where somebody notices. Right? Then you start getting the interviews. Then you start, selling the books and so on, like instruction manuals on how to grow your church. And the more interviews you get and the more exposure you get, the more followers you get, whether it's physical followers or virtual followers. And so you get to a point where you start having this sphere of influence. And where does that sphere of influence lead? Well, it might surprise you. This sphere of influence leads right to Washington, D.C. And these social engineers are not just hackers on a personal level, they are hackers on a high level, a government level. You see, we think of hackers as nefarious, but these Christian leaders, these evangelical leaders, and these prophecy experts are nothing but hackers as well. First of all, let me refer to an article that I found on Christianity Today, and I'm going to leave a link in the description, and I'm just going to read just a few lines from this article. But once you hear this, then I think you'll understand how people are really hacking their way into the White House, and they want the same thing that all hackers do: information. From this article on Christianity Today, and this article is posted in 2025, Franklin Graham was offering a prayer at the White House Easter dinner, and he said, "What a privilege, isn't it, to have the President of the United States invite us here." Wow, you get that? What a privilege it is to have the President invite us into the White House. Oh man, that's exactly what they want. You see, they didn't have to steal that access, right? It was given to them. And that's what hackers want. They want people to give them information. And so here's Franklin Graham in the White House saying, "Isn't it wonderful that the President invited us here?" Yeah, okay, so the hackers get in. The article says that what we know about the President's faith comes largely from the pastors around him at the White House, starting with Paula White Cain. White Cain, a prosperity preaching televangelist and the President's longtime spiritual advisor, has been an unofficial guide in introducing him to other faith leaders. And she recently told Fox and Friends during Holy Week that the office has hosted almost 500 faith leaders. And we've actually had over 1,000 faith leaders in through the White House in just a short time period, she said. Now, this was just last year in 2025, and there's actually a White House faith office. Say that 5 times fast. And this person heads that office. And she said that we've had over 1,000 faith leaders coming through this White House in just a short period of time. So the hackers are in. Now, you might say, why in the world are you calling evangelical leaders hackers? It's because they want the same thing any other hacker does: information. Now, when they get into the White House, they can start getting all this top secret information from government officials, right? I mean, Perry Stone, in his book, leads us to believe that he can just call up a government official regarding maybe a dream or a vision or something that he had, and they will take action on his suggestions and his revelations and his dreams. And then there's John Hagee, of course. He never misses an opportunity to brag about his influence. And he talks in his book, Jerusalem Countdown, about meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu and other government officials. And of course, he wants information from them about Middle East developments. You can be sure of that. So why do they want all this information? It's because they can gather this information to try and verify their end-time prophecy doctrine. You see, it's one thing to say, well, the Bible prophesies this or the Bible says that, but if you can get information from government officials as to what's going on in the world that will verify what you're saying Bible prophecy is telling us, then you've really got something. Then you are proving yourself as an indisputable source of biblical knowledge. When you can take Bible prophecy and take government information to verify what you're saying about Bible prophecy, then who can question you? So you see, they have become social engineers of a religious kind. Not only are they wanting you, the individual, to take action and follow them or donate to them or buy their reference materials and so on, they want enough of you doing that to be able to grow their organizations and have an influence enough to be invited into the White House, and then they can start gathering information from people in government that they know, and they can impress us with what they've gleaned from the government and put it together with their awful mashup of Bible prophecy to try to convince you that they are authoritative and that their word is gold. And the number one thing we can do, and again, this is going back to the cybersecurity training that I had recently, the number one thing you can do is don't trust, just verify. Don't trust, verify. You can read things in the New Testament that will tell you that what these prophecy experts are saying is absolutely wrong. And you can verify that for yourself if you will take time to read, especially the New Testament, without any filters, read it honestly, and understand what these authors are telling us, and you can understand for yourself that what these guys are saying is not part of the gospel of Jesus Christ. All right, folks, my name is Dan, and I want to thank you again for tuning in to End Time Counterpoint. If you have enjoyed this discussion, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget about the book I have available. It's not on the New York Times bestseller list, but you can find it at Apple Books and Barnes & Noble. It's called Blinded by the Rapture, and I urge you to get it. It will help you in your studies. So once again, my name is Dan. I thank you for your kind attention today. Don't forget to subscribe to End Time Counterpoint. I will see you in the next episode.